Greg Bedard from the Boston Sports Journal from our Town Fair Tire Studios here. Hi, Greg.
Hello.
Hi. So typically when you have that kind of offensive season, the offensive coordinator does not survive and the offense does not survive. Is this one of those cases where that should be the case, or are there extenuating circumstances?
I think it's entirely fair with what's gone on if they look at that. I mean, I don't think Bill O'Brien should be absolved of anything. I think in general with the Patriots football operations, I think it behooves the Crafts, especially where they are now, 2-10, where the offense is they need to go on a fact-finding mission. Towards the end of the season, after the season, they need to figure out what's what. You know, I will echo what Bert said recently and on Sunday night about that there are people inside the building who wonder if Belichick has handcuffed O'Brien in terms of what he's able to do. Now, I'll just tell you, in my experience covering this team and covering the way they do, you know, head coach to the offense and things like that, that would somewhat surprise me. I think that...
What would surprise you? I'm sorry.
It would surprise me if Belichick was, during the game, you know, really clamping down on O'Brien. That's not really the way things have been done in these parts for a very long time. But I would think, just watching the film and not knowing exactly how things are working behind the scenes, I would say that what I see is an offensive coordinator who has zero anticipation that they are going to be able to execute anything as an offense. And to me, the biggest problems of this with this offense go to the assistant coaching staff. You know, the offensive assistants specifically. I just think that fell off a cliff when Josh McDaniels left with a bunch of those staffers. They had nobody really ready to go, and it's completely fallen off to, you know, one person, you know, from inside the building. We were texting, I think it was Sunday night, and, you know, they basically said, and I agree with this, that if you gave this collection to the 2021 coaching staff with Josh McDaniels, Carm Brasillo is the offensive line coach, Bo Hardigree is the quarterbacks coach, Mick Lombardi's the wide receivers coach, you know, and so on and so forth, that this offense would be light years better. It would be at least akin to what they did in 2021. That's how far the assistant coaching staff has fallen off, and, you know, to the point where they don't have their offensive line coach. And I just think the attention to detail in general on the offense, the attention to detail and execution is just, I've never seen it at levels like this.
What was it? How you just put that? If they called a play, there is zero expectation that they would be able to execute anything.
Mm-hmm. That they couldn't, you know, you can't block it. You can't have any confidence that A, they're going to be able to block it, and B, the receivers are going to be in the right place or use the right techniques or what have you. That's where this offense is.
Okay. After watching, and again, yeoman's work, seriously, like hazard pay or whatever you call that, for watching the game tape, what did it show?
So as far as Bailey Zappi, which I'm sure you know what you're getting into,
yep.
Is it better than where Mac Jones was? Absolutely. It definitely was. I mean, it wasn't a ton better, but, you know, Zappi made some plays in this game, which we have not seen out of the quarterback position in some time. You know, I thought he did some good things, you know, especially maneuvering in the pocket. He threw a couple, you know, in-breaking routes or, you know, a couple out-breaking routes where, you know, we haven't seen Mac Jones have the confidence to do that in a long time. I do think that he had some issues in this game, specifically with, you know, we know that he's physically limited. That's why he was drafted where he was. But I do think processing for Bailey Zappi is a weakness for him in terms of, you know, some of the 50-50 balls, which I absolutely hate. And I'm going to, you know, absolve Zappi a little bit of that and say it was just beaten into him by Matt Patricia, who loved those passes for whatever reason. That was the whole offense last year. It was deep shots, 50-50 balls, and checkdowns. I think he missed some other opportunities on those plays that were higher percentage, and I do think that Zappi, he was responsible for some of the 5 sacks in the second half. I had him for 2 half sacks and a full sack. The 5-second one was ridiculous. I mean, there were a bunch of problems on that play, including at the least he has to just get rid of the ball. He can't take a sack after 5 seconds. This isn't Western Kentucky. This is the NFL. You're not holding the ball when you run like a 5.38 40 for 5 seconds behind the line. It's just not going to happen.
Okay, when we talk some football with the big boy here, Greg Bedard, as we do every Tuesday, 617-779-0985. So wrapping this all together, Greg, let's say they had a quarterback that they believed in, that they believed they could block it, that Bill O'Brien was allowed to run the offense that he wanted to run. Okay, so all restrictions are off, right? Whatever handcuffing Bill is doing on O'Brien, whatever handcuffing the lack of talent is doing to O'Brien, whatever handcuffing the lack of quarterback play or offensive line play is doing. So let's say all that stuff is functional. What would their offense be? Do you know what I mean? Like in an ideal world, what's their offense?
I think their offense it would be middle of the road.
Well, I don't necessarily mean that. What would it look like? Like, what would their be? Like, what would be their identity? What would they do?
Okay.
And again, so I say that because when I watch and I say this all the time, but when I watch a Shanahan, McVay, LaFleur offense, I recognize it. I see what they're trying to do with the motion and the stretch running and the counteraction to it. Like, I see it all. And when I see an Andy Reid offense, I see it. Okay, and I see what they're trying to do. What would they be?
So assuming that they had, functional NFL level coaching on the offensive line and receivers, I think, what we saw this summer from Bill O'Brien was, and this is what I saw on the field. What I saw was remnants of the old Patriots offense plus what Bill O'Brien ran in college. Which is what? RPOs? RPOs, a lot of motion. We saw a lot of tempo this summer on the practice field where they were going no huddle. And, what's interesting from this game, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but when they did that in the second half, and maybe at halftime, Belichick was like, fine, go ahead, run what you want to run. I would say what we saw in the second half was more like it. I don't know if you noticed this, but when they ran tempo, Zappy would give a dummy count and then look to the sideline, and O'Brien was giving him hand signals.
Well, that is a total college thing.
Yeah. I mean, if Bill O'Brien has his druthers, one of those postcards with like Britney Spears. And
I freaking hate it. Every time. Quarterback in the shotgun,
yep.
Ready to snap the ball, he claps.
Yep.
Everybody stops and stands up and looks at the sidelines. The coach holds up a picture of Daffy Duck, and then they get back into it, clap again, and snap the ball. I can't tell you how much I hate it. But they were kind of doing that.
They were kind of doing that in the second half. It was it was interesting to watch, and I think that's what Bill O'Brien would like to do. I think he would like to play faster, have a little bit more of his own control of the offense, and go from there.
Okay.
Good luck.
I was going to say.
So as you asked,
do you want to give it? Because the big picture question now is, you're going to draft a quarterback. Are you going to give him to Bill O'Brien and this offense? Is that what you want? Is that what's best for the young player? To give it to what I don't know. Greg, it feels antiquated to me. It just does. It doesn't feel like the direction of the league. I mean, other than Brady, who's had success with this offense?
Right. I mean, you can make a case for that. You could also make a case for Bill O'Brien had Deshaun Watson in Houston, and Deshaun Watson played some pretty damn good ball for Bill O'Brien. And now I do think they always had offensive line issues in Houston, but I thought Deshaun Watson was. I mean, that's why the Browns gave up what they gave up for him. How good he was. And so if you wanted to make the case for Bill O'Brien that he could work with any quarterback and make his offense work, then I'm sure, there are some people, probably Big Jim Murray, who will, certainly Joe Murray would take issue with his performance in Houston. But I thought there was enough there that with better personnel that you could say, okay, this looks like a modern offense with a modern quarterback, and, you can do some things with it.
I'm sorry, Mazz, you were going to say?
No, I don't remember. I honestly don't remember.
Okay, so we're going to pick it up with Greg Bedard here and his thoughts on the offense, the future of the offense. I think that's the crux of the matter right now. Belichick's gone, but is the offense, are they going to carry forward with the, again, the delineation of the Charlie Weiss, Josh McDaniels, Bill O'Brien offense, the evolved form of it with the first or second overall pick. Is that what they're going to do to that young quarter? Is that the right thing to do? The right guy to coach it? The right system to put that player in? And where do they go from here? I guess that's just one thing to hit on, but you can talk about whatever you want with the big boy. Again, it's 617-779-0985. To you right after this.